Let's go. Time to grind, get inside your mind. Yeah, we working overtime. That's the only way to climb. We gon' make it in our prime. Signing on the dotted line, cashing checks left and right. That's the way I'm living life. I feel alive when I got a goal in sight. Chip away, I gotta fight. Ain't nobody else in sight. Man, I think I see the light. Yeah, that shit is so bright. Follow me, I got the guide. See you on the other side, son. Ain't nobody know what I've been through.
What is going on, everyone? And in this video, I'll be giving you my UFC 294 main card predictions for the upcoming event taking place this Saturday, October 21st, 2023, out of Abu Dhabi. Makhachev versus Volkanovski 2. A lot of short notice going on here. A lot of just, at this point, we'll see what happens kind of fights. Looking forward to it, obviously. Exciting to always get these matchups. Some of these matchups, you know, Kamaru Usman versus Khamzat Chimaev, we've been looking forward to that fight, and some people, including myself, didn't think it would even happen. So for it to just come together on short notice, I mean, that's fine. Like, you get what you get, and then to have a rematch of one of the more competitive fights that everyone has kind of wondered what's going to happen in the next one, Makhachev versus Volkanovski. Always interesting. Probably going to be the fight of the night. Looking forward to that one. So with that being said, we have to go ahead and jump right into it. In the first fight on the main card, we have Nurmagomedov taking on Muin Gafurov. 17-3 for Nurmagomedov, and then 18-5 for Gafurov in a bantamweight bout. So this is an interesting fight because Gafurov, so his first fight inside of the UFC, John Castaneda, he lost via decision. He got taken down 3 times. He was unable to get his own takedowns, 0 for 6. I believe this fight was on short notice too, so take that for what it is. But I think mainly for Gafurov, his plan is to kind of get in close. His combinations they're okay. I wouldn't say it's anything crazy, but it's the main plan, I think, is to get those takedowns, see what he can do on the floor. The other thing, though, is if he starts to gas out a little bit, he kind of resorts to, I think, diving in for those takedowns. And that's concerning against someone like Nurmagomedov, who can obviously defend with a submission, pull off something like that. And Nurmagomedov on the feet, I think, will be a little bit more well-rounded, mixing in a lot of the kicks, front kicks, putting together some peppering punches, and then also having that capability of going in for the spinning attacks, stuff like that, making it a little bit flashy. Nurmagomedov as well, too. I think he's a guy who can defensively transition, move to a good position. Like, he's always going to be working, like, even if he's the one getting taken down or whatever. So Nurmagomedov is a really solid fighter. Now, the only thing that I would say is he kind of ran into a wall in his last fight against Jonathan Martinez. And that fight was definitely a tough fight for Nurmagomedov. And we saw that because he lost, right? He ends up getting 3 takedowns, but Martinez is able to get back up and then defend the other 6. So if we look at this scenario where Nurmagomedov is getting pressured consistently and he's not able to defend these takedowns, he's not able to get back up, if he's not reversing these positions, we've kind of seen that before. He can definitely be taken down. Then he might run into a problem. But if Nurmagomedov can kind of, whether it's just stay on the feet, mix up the combinations on the feet, and then get Gafurov a little bit tired and try to get him start diving in for the takedowns where it gets a little bit labored, then maybe Nurmagomedov will start to pull away in this one. And I kind of feel like that's what's going to happen. I think it could be a competitive fight just because Gafurov is really going to try to probably, or at least he should try to press forward with that forward pressure, see what he can do against Nurmagomedov and shut him down a little bit. But if he can't do that, I still think Nurmagomedov overall will be able to kind of pull off a decision victory. So I'm going to go Nurmagomedov to defeat Muin Gafurov. I'll take him to win by decision. In the second fight on the main card, we have Ikram Aliskerov taking on Warlley Alves in a middleweight bout. 14-1 for Aliskerov, and then for Warlley Alves, he's coming in with a 15-6 record. Alves is going to have a lot more experience inside the UFC. Aliskerov is coming off of a KO/TKO against Phil Hawes in round number 1. So that was a pretty good fight for him. Didn't really need to get the fight to the ground, obviously. He was able to keep it standing, put together combinations. He did get hit a little bit, so those are moments where I felt like sometimes his aggression could lead him to getting popped up against a guy who's going to try to drop a bomb on your head, and Alves, obviously. So that's something to keep an eye out for. I do think Aliskerov, though, will be the guy throwing a lot more strikes. We saw in his in Dana White Contender Series, he was able to get a submission victory. So I think a lot like some of the other Russians, Aliskerov is definitely a guy who's capable of taking you down, kind of grinding you out, try to look for the submission. Now, I don't think he needs to do that early on because someone like Warlley Alves, known for getting these submissions, right? He is one of the only guys that defeated Colby Covington, so via submission, even though that was early on, 2015, but still, he's dangerous at any moment. He can land kicks, he can land an overhand right. I do think, though, as the fight goes on, Warlley Alves will start to tire, especially if you're really just kind of defending against his one overhand and his ability to take people down. If he's not able to do any of that, I feel like Aliskerov will be eventually just basically just chopping away at him until he strings together a combination that rocks Alves, because Aliskerov does have some power. So it's more of just for Aliskerov is to survive early and then see what he can do in the second or third round. See if he can start pulling away, see if he can damage him really badly. And for Alves, it's mainly, can I get him into a situation where I can go for those, maybe go for a submission? Can I get into a situation where I can get Aliskerov into a wild exchange and I drop a bomb on his head, hurt him badly, pull the guillotine, stuff like that. But for me, it's like, if Aliskerov can pressure forward, light him up with some combinations, and just keep that pressure, I feel like he's just going to eventually break him. As long as he doesn't dive in for a takedown early on, that would be crazy to me. But I think the best case is Aliskerov puts on that aggression, stays in his face, and then tries to take him out. And then maybe in the second or third round, we get that. So for me, I'm going to go Ikram Aliskerov to defeat Warlley Alves. I'll take him to win by KO/TKO in round number 2. In the third fight on the main card, we have Magomed Ankalaev, 18-1-1, taking on Johnny Walker, 21-7, in a light heavyweight bout. So this is a pretty interesting light heavyweight bout matchup. This is either going to be a boring fight where we see a decision, like a split decision because one guy kicked the other guy more, or we're going to actually get to see some action here and get some violence. I'm hoping for the violence, but we'll have to see. For Ankalaev, he's coming off a very lackluster performance against Jan Blachowicz in a fight where he lands 2 takedowns. He significantly outstrikes him 78-58 to 55. He only gets 2 takedowns, right? So I think obviously the judges weighed in the fact that Blachowicz defended 8 takedowns, and again, Ankalaev didn't really do much when he took him down. So that was just an odd fight. Really was unfortunate to see a fight like that too, because usually when you fight for the title, especially if it's a vacated, it's kind of your opportunity to go out there and show them why. And I don't think either guy really showed anything. So that's unfortunate. But before that, he defeats Anthony Smith, gets a KO/TKO, Thiago Santos, Volkan Ozdemir, Nikita Krylov, Ian Cutelaba twice, right? So he definitely put some guys away. I think mainly, though, he's one of these fighters that he's more technical on the feet. Ankalaev, a lot of kicks, has the ability to string together combinations. Not necessarily a brawler. I mean, we did get to see that a lot against Ian Cutelaba, but he's able to put him away twice. So he can mix it up, throw the kicks, good jab, light on his feet, has the ability to go in for the takedown, obviously. And then he's fighting in someone like Johnny Walker, who has nasty KO power, but has moments just like Ankalaev in fights where he kind of coasts to a decision, right? It's kind of, he's not really able to get anything going in some of these fights. He has the ability to defend takedowns. He has the ability to go for his own takedowns. But for the most part, I feel like Walker is a little bit sketchy. There's moments like against Jamal Hill where he's winning the fight and then he ends up losing it. There's moments where against Thiago Santos, it was just, did either guy, were they just not trying to, they were too afraid of each other's power, and they kind of coasted to a decision. He defeats Ryan Spann. Oh, I'm sorry, not against Jamal Hill. Against Jamal Hill, he just got destroyed. It was against Ryan Spann where both guys got rocked or whatever. Or actually, Walker got rocked twice. And then he comes out and wins the fight against Ryan Spann. But he can definitely be hurt. That's like the main part. And then he has a fight against Nikita Krylov where he gets taken down 3 times and loses a decision. And Krylov went for 8 takedowns in that fight. So I expect I don't want to assume that both guys are going to go to this boring decision. Part of me thinks maybe that's going to happen. But Walker, I just feel like I don't think he's going to be as technical as Ankalaev. Now, Walker could always land something, or if Ankalaev goes in for a takedown, he starts slamming elbows into his head. He could always try to reverse the position, right? Get a submission victory. But I think for the most part, Ankalaev is just going to be the more patient, technical fighter on the feet. But at the same time, man, Ankalaev, if he's able to take him down, right, and start ground and pounding on him, like he could definitely hurt him. Like even on the feet, there could be moments where Ankalaev drops Walker. If Walker gets a little bit crazy, tries to start going for spinning stuff, flying knees, all that. Like Ankalaev could definitely hurt him if he's able to counter him. But we see Johnny Walker. We've seen him being taken down before. We've kind of seen him just have lackluster fights. So we'll see how Walker fights. But I still feel like Ankalaev's going to have a little bit more well-roundedness to his game. And I think that's what's going to keep him in this fight. And there will, I think, be moments for Ankalaev to get the finish. I think there's going to be moments for both guys to get the finish. It's just on them whether they want to really go for it. But yeah, I got to go with Ankalaev. I just think, yeah, he did lose to Jan Blachowicz, but it was a split decision loss. It was a weird fight. And he was, I mean, outside of Paul Craig in the very first fight, he's been beating everyone that he's come across. So, yeah. I'm going to go with Magomed Ankalaev to defeat Johnny Walker. I'll take him to win by round 2, KO TKO. In the co-main event of the evening, we have Kamaru Usman taking on Khamzat Chimaev. And this is going to be a fight that a lot of people wanted to see. Unfortunately, it kind of has to happen on short notice, so we kind of get to see where, there's always those excuses, oh, I took the fight on short notice or whatever, or there's not an excuse when the guy just goes out there and annihilates someone. So we'll have to see how that plays into it. But you have Usman, former champ, coming in off a loss against Leon Edwards, which, yeah, I mean, he got 4 takedowns in that fight, but Edwards did a lot more on the feet. And then obviously Edwards, he defended what? Usman went for 15 takedowns and only got 4. So he defended the majority of the takedowns. So that definitely played into him winning. And then on the feet, he outstruck him. So yeah, he wins a majority decision. I guess one judge thought it was a draw. In the fight before that, Usman is definitely winning the fight, gets the takedowns, has more significant strikes. And then he just unfortunately gets head kicked in the very last round and the very last second. Like that's... I mean, like, not the last second, but the last minute of the fight, he just gets head kicked and on a way to winning, and that just alters the entire thing. So unfortunate for him, but it was against someone who was considered one of the top welterweights in the world. For Khamzat Chimaev, he's kind of been on a roll. I say kind of just because the win over Kevin Holland in his last one is short notice. I mean, I honestly don't think anyone thought Holland was going to be able to defend those takedowns. Just got taken down, Darce choked. I mean, that was pretty much it. And it was on short notice, so take that for what it is. The interesting fight was Chimaev's fight against Gilbert Burns. In a fight where Burns was just able to kind of absorb a lot of the damage, right? And then fire back with his own shots. And I think Chimaev kind of got into the wrong fight, right? He kind of started playing into kind of going toe-to-toe, exchanging and stuff like that when he needed to kind of get him down, control him on the floor, fight a little bit more smart, don't just start brawling with him. And he kind of even said that afterwards. But still a good win for him via unanimous decision, just because it showed that like Chimaev can definitely compete against someone who's gonna go in there and not be an easy guy to just take out, right? Gilbert Burns went for 5 takedowns, didn't get any of them. Chimaev went for 3 takedowns and got 2 of them. So yeah, I think that was a pretty good wall to run into before you start fighting these top guys. Because we've seen Burns fight Usman before, and Usman did get the victory in that one, but it was still a competitive fight, right? I think Burns definitely had moments where he rocked him and stuff. So yeah, Chimaev taking on Gilbert Burns and having a tough fight, that was definitely a good win for him. Against Li Jingliang, he subbed him. Gerald Meerschaert just absolutely annihilated him. Reese McKee took him out. John Phillips took him out. So I really look at the one with Gilbert Burns. I really look at that one, and I think you can see now. Now the concern though is that was in 2022, April 9th, 2022. So it's been over a year. What improvements are we gonna see? What has he been doing? There's a lot of those kind of questions that you have to ask yourself. Injuries, right? What kind of injuries does he have? Everyone has some sort of injury going into a fight. And then just running into a guy who has been fighting contender after contender at the very top level and going like 5 rounds with them, right? His last 3 fights, Usman went all, well, the head kick basically went 5 rounds. But so his last 3 fights ended up 5 rounds, basically. Before that, he took on Jorge Masvidal. Wasn't supposed to beat him. A lot of people thought Masvidal would be lighting him up on the feet, if anything. Usman KOs him. Against Gilbert Burns, Usman's able to handle him on the feet. And then he defeats Jorge Masvidal. Before that, takes him down 5 times, unanimous decision. Takes out Colby Covington in the 5th round. Tyron Woodley, decision. So he's been fighting these top guys. He's been finishing some of these guys. I think Usman's striking has been a lot better. And then obviously his wrestling is always there. But I still think on the feet, I don't know over the course of 5 rounds, but on the feet, Chimaev just, to me, is going to be the guy who's going to be in his face. Like, Chimaev is going to go over to Usman, stay in his face, try to light him up with the speed and combinations. Whereas I feel like Usman is going to try to pick him apart, right? Take him into the 4th and 5th round, see what he can do, pick him apart, do a lot of that. And I'm not so sure that's going to work because Chimaev, like I said, I think is going to just be the better guy to put together the combinations and be aggressive, right? I don't think Chimaev is going to be like, oh, I'm going to take this fight to a decision. Like, I don't think he wants to do that. The wrestling, I mean, those are questions that, is Usman going to be able to stop the takedown? Is Chimaev going to be able to stop a takedown, right? Do they even go for the takedowns? Maybe not. Or Usman starts going for the takedowns because Chimaev starts gassing out a little bit. Now, I don't know. For me, I feel like Chimaev is definitely going to tire out a little bit unless he's found a way to conserve his energy and he's not going to go after Usman right away and he is going to try to play that tactical game versus running at him and just trying to annihilate him. Because I just feel like Chimaev, like, yeah, if it goes 5 rounds, maybe Usman is the one getting the victory because at that point Usman has been there before and he can like grapple a lot, put him against the fence, go back and forth. But it's like the early on of Chimaev, that 1st and 2nd round, even the 3rd round maybe, if Chimaev is tagging him, right, and maybe he doesn't put him away, but then that damage, I just think Chimaev will be doing a lot more damage early on than Usman will be doing. But at the same time, who knows, man? Maybe Usman goes out here and just freaking drops in that combination right hand, boom, and just takes him out. It's all over. Because you got to think, it's on short notice. So it's not just short notice for Usman. He's taking a fight on short notice, but Chimaev is taking this fight on short notice, essentially. Now, he's been training for a guy, but then you get a completely different opponent. And I don't think Chimaev was, he wasn't gonna, I don't think he was expecting Usman, like, because Usman is definitely gonna go in for those takedowns. And that's one of those things where that's a completely different game compared to Paulo Costa. Like, I think if Chimaev was fighting Paulo Costa, he could anticipate, I'm gonna take this dude down and just annihilate him. And by the time we get back up to the feet, Costa's going to be a little bit just gassed out from getting controlled that I can light him up. Now he has to go in here and think, this can't go 5 rounds of me getting taken down or, gassed out and stuff. So it's an interesting fight. I'm a little concerned just because I feel like Usman being the previous champion, having that grindy kind of style, fighting the best there is. Now, he does have some injuries, and so that's obviously something to keep in mind because his back or whatever, his knee, stuff like that. Like, that's always not good to hear about. But I honestly feel like if Usman wins, it's because he just completely has the better wrestling. And it's one of those things where you're like, oh, wow, like, he's just dominating him. I think if Chimaev wins, I think we'll know early on that, like, whoa, Like, this guy is different. He's taken out the #1 contender, the guy who just was the champion. I think it's one of those. I don't think we see like a 5-round war where Chimaev is like, I just don't think we're going to get that. I honestly think Chimaev is going to be a little bit gassed out if it goes 5 rounds. But yeah, we'll see how this plays out. Interesting. Very interesting. Looking forward to it. But for me, I'm going to go Khamzat Chimaev to defeat Kamaru Usman. I'll take him to win by round 2. KO TKO. In the main event of the evening, we have Islam Makhachev 24-1 taking on Alexander Volkanovski 26-2 in a lightweight title bout. No, so this is obviously for the lightweight championship, which is currently held by Islam Makhachev, and then Alexander Volkanovski is the current featherweight champion. So this is a weird fight to me because, one, it's on short notice. So like, what does that mean, right? We run it back for a third time if some weird shit happens. And then on top of that, Alexander Volkanovski has literally nothing left to do in his division. Like, at this point, I don't want to, like, he's fought the second best guy who's also been annihilating everyone else in Max Holloway 3 times and beat him. Maybe beat him pretty convincingly twice, but one time, whatever. But still, you know, go fight him for go fight him for a 4th or 5th time. So yeah, that's a little odd because then if Volkanovski loses this, like, what does he go do? Like, just retire? Like what is the point? And then for Makhachev, obviously beating Volkanovski again on short notice solidifies to me that, like, yeah, I mean, this guy is literally the greatest. Like, he's literally the greatest, if not one of, like, top 5 or something of all time, just because of him. You know, he's submitting people, KOTK, fighting other people in a different division, whatever. And then Makhachev at the same time, it's like, what does he do? Does he just retire and let the next Makhachev, the next Nurmagomedov, the next Russian up-and-comer just take over the division? Which I don't really like because I feel like people should fight until they lose. Like, and I know that's kind of selfish for a fan to say, but I think you just want to see someone, like, lose the title to the next guy versus just, I'm done here. Like, I'm bored, you know? Like Volkanovski losing to the lightweight champion at least has some, like, respect to it, you know? It's like, oh, he cleaned out his division and then he tried to go up but it didn't work, so okay, you know. It's just, I'd like to see, like, I didn't really like how Nurmagomedov went out. I understood it, and I feel like Makhachev is gonna kind of probably go out like that too, where he just steps away. But and then they have some, you know, Conor McGregor fighting some random guy for the title or whatever. But either way, looking forward to the main event. Makhachev, dominant wrestling. I think their last fight was pretty much about that, right? It was just whether or not Makhachev could hold him down, do enough damage. And honestly, at moments, I don't think Makhachev was able to do a lot on the ground, right? It was, and that's kind of what Volkanovski was kind of arguing, that, like, yeah, you did take me down 4 times, but I stuffed 5 of the takedowns. And then when you got me down, you really didn't do anything. Like, you went for the submission, or you try to go for to improve your position, stuff like that, but you didn't really do any damage, right? And then on the feet, Alexander Volkanovski, he actually got credited for 1 knockdown. So he lands 70 significant strikes to Makhachev's 57. So on the feet, I think Volkanovski definitely did a little bit better. And he did touch him. Like, he definitely lit him up a little bit. I'm not saying Volkanovski didn't get touched either, but obviously I think for me, the feet, I think it was won by Alexander Volkanovski. It's just how much you're weighing in those 4 takedowns, that control time, right? 7 minutes and 37 seconds of control time. So it's kind of one of those controversial situations where, depending on who's watching the fight, are they judging the stand-up? Are they judging the wrestling? Like, what's going on there? And so, you know, he wins a unanimous decision. The 46-49, I don't know about all that. I felt like it was definitely more of like a 47-48, right? 48-47, 48-47. 49-46, I don't think I would go that far. I think it definitely was a little bit closer than a 49-46. But for me, like, what's Volkanovski going to be able to do again, right? I think he definitely wants this one back. That's why they took the fight. They said, no problem, we'll figure it out. We'll get the fight done. And then, yeah, the pressure is on Makhachev. But if we know this camp, we know how these fighters are, right? Nurmagomedov is obviously training him. if this guy is the next best in line, then he's the next best in line, and there's not much anyone's going to be able to do about it, even someone at Volkanovski's level. So, like, I think Makhachev is going to look to do the same thing. Get those takedowns, close the distance, get that control time, and then try to look for another decision, because I don't feel like Makhachev is going to be able to finish Volkanovski. And I think Volkanovski is going to be aware of, like, when I am on the feet, I need to land a lot more than I did. I need to hurt this guy. I need to do more. I need to really be aggressive on the feet, because if I do get taken down and I waste time on the floor, then I have to at every moment set this dude up for failure, whether that's setting him up for the uppercuts, right? Just looking for something to where he can just hurt Makhachev, take him out of that constantly, like, he gets into that groove of take you down, hold you down, stand up, but I'm still looking to get you down, you know. And both guys have the cardio to do this all day long. So it's really just, there's going to be small opportunities, whether Volkanovski can land an uppercut as he comes in. Maybe Volkanovski tags him like he did last time, but this time he's able to hurt him with a punch flying. You know, there's just little things that there's going to be those moments. And at the same time, Makhachev, there's be moments maybe where he takes Volkanovski's back, and this time he locks it in, right? It's just little things. In a fight at this level, little things are going to be the difference maker here, and who's going to get that victory. But I think it goes to a decision again. I think we get another competitive fight. Maybe not, though, because it's on short notice, but I'm looking for a competitive fight, and I think we get another judge decision. Who wins this decision? I mean, Volkanovski has nothing to lose, right? And then Makhachev has everything to lose. This is a legacy. I do think they would fight for a third time, though, if Volkanovski wins. But yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I feel like Volkanovski definitely wants to go out there. Like, this dude doesn't get beat in his own division. So a loss has to really fire him up. He really gets him, like, thinking, like, how can I change the outcome for the next time? And so for me, I could be very wrong here, and Makhachev just does it again and does it more dominantly and, you know, gets a submission. But, and then Volkanovski's like, oh, I you know, my back hurts, because, you know, he say some shit like that, like he's drinking or something during it or whatever. But I'm going to go Alexander Volkanovski, man. I'm going to take him to defeat Islam Makhachev. I'll take him to win by decision. So that'll do it, guys, for my UFC 294 main card predictions. For one hell of a banger of a card. Main card stacked. Everything is ready to go here. Looking forward to it. Leave your comments down below. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. And I'll see you guys in the next video.